So today I am painting a Mother's Day card with a hummingbird, and I'm using the Arteza 100% cotton watercolor cards. For colors, I'm using Da Vinci Cerulean Blue, Da Vinci Quinacridone Violet, Da Vinci Ultramarine Blue, Da Vinci Hansa Yellow Light, Da Vinci Violet, Da Vinci Denise's Green, and Daniel Smith Sleeping Beauty Turquoise. And I'm also going to be using a pencil and a ruler. As you can see, I'm doing some lines to lay out my lettering there. And I also use a Faber-Castell metallic pen in gold, a black micron pen, and a white gel pen, and round watercolor brushes in a few different sizes. I believe it was a round 2, a round 6, and a round 10 or 12. So kind of a small, medium, large situation. Obviously use whatever colors you have or whichever colors you like. You can definitely switch them up or change them. And same with brushes. And forgive my nails. Decided to try and let them grow out, and then I went and worked in the garden and tried to scrub them out because they got extremely dirty. I think I'm just going to cut them because that's just easier. So right now I'm just blocking out my lettering in pencil, and that's all I'm going to do right now. Just block everything out, the hummingbird, the rose, and the lettering. And before I did this part, I did do a very just light, simple sketch on a small piece of notebook paper just to kind of work on my layout before I put it on the card. So that's on the side, you can't see that, but I do have that where I can look at it and refer to it while I do this part. You could definitely, change the lettering to do it in a way that you're comfortable with. I'm definitely comfortable with the more swoopier style, but I didn't really like the way that looked for all 3 letters, so I just used that for Mother's. But that's personal opinion, do it however you like. And just penciling in my rose, starting with the center and then making squiggly lines going outward. Not trying to do it real detailed, just getting a sense of how big I want it to be on the paper. And same with the leaves. And that one decided I didn't like the where I put it, the placement, so I erased it and moved it up. I didn't want it to be right in the hummingbird's face. And just blocking in the wing, and let's see, it took me a couple times to get the wing shape where I wanted it there and the size that I wanted it. So, you know, it's something that you just have to play with a little bit until you get something that looks good to you. And then also the tail, I kind of worked in around the lettering as well. And his little hummingbird tummy. So it's, as of recording this, late April, and I have my hummingbird feeder out, but we haven't gotten our hummingbirds yet. I'm still anxiously awaiting their arrival. They're probably here, but just like the early travelers. But I always put it out because it can still get very cold here this time of year, and I know they need the calories. So I make sure to put it out for them, for those early travelers. So there's the eye. I add 2 shines in this eye. Just, I don't know, I think it makes it cuter. Just blocking in a few little places where I want his little neck to be a different color. And that's it. There's my sketch. So for this I used round brushes. I used, I think, around 10, around 2. I think that was mainly it. So I'm using the bigger brush. And starting with a little bit of water. And of course dog hair in the brush. Do you get dog hair in your brushes? I get dog hair in all of my paintings and everything I do. But of course that's because I have 3 dogs. So anyway, I was wetting the background here. And I wasn't doing it all over. I wanted to kind of stretch out to the Happy Mother's Day, but not really go into it a whole lot. So just clean water still. And this is the cerulean blue. This is the cerulean blue hue, actually. And it was rather watered down while I was adding it right now for this initial background layer. So I'm just putting it on those places where I already put the water, and in some places just kind of helping it spread out a little bit. So I just kind of wanted that initial light wash to begin with. And I like it to spread out and look uneven. So that's why I'm kind of pushing it around. Sorry about my big pile of yucky erasers there. I wish I would have moved that. That looks rather gross. But I put them in there. If I don't, they also get covered in hair and such. But they kind of get smashed down in there, and it just looks yucky. So adding a little extra water to just clean water to create some blooms. Now I'm wetting the head of the hummingbird with clean water. And I'm just wetting him all over. So this is the Sleeping Beauty turquoise. And I'm adding it to the belly section. And working it up to the head. And it does kind of, spread out into the background. And that was fine. I wanted it to be a little bit looser. So now this is the Da Vinci Violet, which I think I forgot to mention at the beginning. So just a nice purple there. And then if that mixes with the turquoise, it actually looks really nice together. And this is the darker blue. So I used ultramarine blue. Just putting that all over his head. As you can see, it's kind of spreading out there. And that's fine. I didn't bother to try and do anything about that. That's kind of what I wanted, a nice soft look. And so now I'm taking that and just kind of, I guess you could say stippling it up the wing a little bit, starting to try and add some texture. And stippling it a little more down his body, down his back. And so that's some more of that ultramarine blue. And it's a little bit of a thicker concentration. And so that again is the Sleeping Beauty turquoise down at the bottom there. And that color is rather, I believe that's one of their more expensive ones. And any turquoise would work, obviously. I really wanted to try the Sleeping Beauty because it was one of their special colors. And it is very pretty. So this is the quinacridone violet. So normally I would use like my Mission Golds or something, a little bit cheaper on a card because, light fastness doesn't normally matter on a card and all of that. But I don't know, sometimes I just get in the mood to use certain paints, and that's how this was today. So, oh, another dog hair on the brush. So now this is quinacridone violet and a darker concentration there. And I'm just kind of outlining the rose. And then once I've got the shape, just some water on the brush and spreading it out a little bit to get some lighter areas. And I go in with a more concentrated, again, the same color. And while it's still wet, just adding some more darker areas. Just give it a little more depth. And then just some clean water in the center there, spreading that out just a little bit more. So working on the rose to let the hummingbird dry. My smaller brush there, that is the Denise's green, but you could use any kind of, sap green or whatever green, or, or you could have some other colored leaves. Why not? Going in with a little more concentrated paint there to get a darker color. And then just some clean water to spread it out a little lighter to the center. Then on the brush now is a little bit of the yellow, the Hansa yellow light, just added to the centers of the leaves there. And again, the same thing to the other leaves. Poor little hummingbird looks a little messy now, but he'll look better later. And they're adding the yellow again to the centers. Testing to see if he's dry yet. And at this point, if he's not dry, just wait a little bit until everything is mostly dried up. Okay, so he's dry. So now I'm going to get some violet and kind of a concentrated violet and start stippling that little section on that wing. So you can just see it's like just the little part on his wing. There's still the part where like the feathers fan out, and we haven't touched that part yet. just going down the body a little bit with that same thing. As you can see, the paint is getting a little bit lighter because I'm using it up, but I just keep on going because I kind of like it when it fades like that on its own. Going up the head just a little bit. And so this is some more watery, not the lightest, but very light watery turquoise. And I'm stippling the belly with that. The belly I want to be a little bit lighter, but I'm also moving it up to where that violet meets it to try and blend it just a little bit. Working on a little bit of tail definition there. And then I go in the top part of the tail with the ultramarine and work on some definition there and a little bit of blending. And then I start stippling there a little bit. And that's still with the ultramarine there. Trying to stipple it and make it, make the colors kind of blend in more smoothly together. And that's the turquoise, doing the little tip of the tail. And a little darker there for the blue part on the back of the tail. And a little more stippling. And there I'm using some of that darker blue, just a little bit of it, to go along up to the belly part. And this is the Quin Violet. Doing his pretty little chin there, or neck, I guess it is really, not his chin. And I'm taking that outside of that area a little bit to try and blend it a little bit more with the turquoise and the blue. And that's a little bit of that turquoise there, so I can blend it in with the quinacridone violet. And some of it's bleeding into that a little bit, and that's fine. I'm going down on his belly a little more. Alright, so this is the turquoise again, and I'm doing some little feather lines with that on his wing. Then I thought his back looked a little small, I guess you could say. So I started adding just a little on there to the to that and stippling it in to make it blend in a little more there. Kind of trying to connect the wing area to the back area, if that makes sense. And then adding a little purple and stippling that, or violet, I should say. Da Vinci violet, not the quinacridone violet, just the Da Vinci violet. Defining the head a little bit with some ultramarine. And a little darker ultramarine there. And stippling a little bit for that texture. And stippling down there at the base of the wing into that little wing section. And as you can see, it's a little smaller and lighter as I go down the face there. So waiting for the little parts on the, like the feathers on the wing to dry just a little bit, and then right now adding some clean water to that to spread that out a little, just so you get a subtle color on that wing there. And then while that's still wet, go in with some more of the turquoise and go back over those lines, and that way they do fan out a little bit. Now here, I do like a wavy line on the wing. I don't want it to just be straight down, because their wings always have that look to them if you look at a hummingbird picture. So now I've got grabbed my micron there. Then I actually end up using that for some of the black areas. And sometimes I paint them, and I don't know why I decided to use a micron. I don't know. Just kind of felt like it for some reason. So I was getting that ready. So I wanted to blend that in just a little bit up there. So just adding a little water, blending, and doing a little stippling as I went. So spreading that out on the wing just a little more. And there's a water drop there, just trying to wipe that off. So there I've got my big brush, and I'm going along with clean water. Just wetting it down. And most of his parts were pretty dry at this point. So as you can see, there's a little bit that came off of his head, but not a lot. And I was going right up to it and touching it, and it was only just a tiny bit, so that was fine. I didn't want a ton of that to happen at this point, but a little bit was fine. Going over the beak with a dark color So I went ahead and just kind of went right over that with the water. Drying my brush off a little there. And I'm just trying to spread that water out because I want a nice, uneven effect. So same color I did before with the background, this cerulean blue. But it is a little bit darker now, as you can tell. So I'm putting in a little more saturated there, color right around the hummingbird, right up close to him. And trying to make it spread out a little bit. Didn't seem like it wanted to spread, so I was just pushing it around, making it spread a little more there. So just going all the way around there. Get in those places where the colors kind of bled before. And as you see, I've gone over the part just a little bit where I'm going to do the lettering, but it's really light. And just going in with some water and just spreading the ends of that just a little bit more. So that's my small brush, just going in with clean water and just dotting it around to try and get it to bloom a little bit there. Trying to do it irregularly so it doesn't look like a pattern or something. There I got a little of the quinacridone violet and just decided to do a few splatters. I really try to not do that too much. I thought here it would look nice with the background, because there'd probably be flowers in the background, and that I don't know, just a little extra color back there, might look nice. Like when you're looking at a photo and you can see like the blurred out background colors. But I didn't want to overdo it, so I just did a little bit. But I do love splattering. It's so fun. So at that point, I was going to let it dry. And I started looking at it and decided that the lower left-hand corner looked a bit plain to me. And maybe I would have been happy with it without this, but I just thought, you know what, I feel like that corner just needs something. So, after thinking about it for a second, while also letting it dry a little bit, I decided that I was going to add a little rose down in that corner. So I didn't sketch it in, I just did it the same way as the bigger rose. Same colors and everything. So I took a little bit of the quinacridone violet, just started in the center, kind of the same way, made little, squiggly lines to form the basic shape of my rose. Got just a little more paint there, a little darker. And now I'm going back in just with clean water. And at that point, getting a little more of the quinacridone violet and adding just some darker areas there. And it is still wet, so they do kind of, or at least parts of it are still kind of wet, so they bleed out a little bit, but that's okay. It just makes a softer look. And so then I'm going to add leaves in the same way that I did before. Excuse me. So same color, the Denise's green or whatever sap green that you have, or whatever other color you like there. I just decided on one leaf on that side, so just one little leaf coming off. Same way, get some clean water and spread that paint out there. And then again, went into the centers with that Hansa yellow light. So then I decided to let that dry. Kind of looking at the whole thing, seeing if it is dry. I've gotten impatient before and tried to add some pin to it when it's still wet, and that just does not go well. Maybe that's part of why I like watercolor. It teaches me patience. Something that I don't necessarily have a lot of. So I decided that it was dry enough to go in. Add the little feet first. The other side, I'm just adding some little toes hanging down, since you wouldn't see the entire foot in that area necessarily. Adding on some little toenails there. Once again, checking to see what parts of it look dry, and decided to go ahead and work on the eye. So first I'm just going to go around. To me it's almost like adding eyeliner. So give that bird a little eyeliner there. And went ahead and blocked off 2 little shine areas in this one. And then I went ahead and used the pen to color in the rest of the eye. It's really fun to add the eye because I feel like it really starts to bring the whole thing to life when it has an eye. So then, being careful to not touch the rose below because it was still a little damp, decided to go ahead and put the beak in. And I do usually paint the beak, but I don't know, I was just in the mood to use the pen today. Really, I hadn't meant for this card to get quite so involved. I meant for it to be a faster thing and to knock out a couple of cards, but ended up just having time for that one. But that's okay. I got into it and really enjoyed it, so I think that's what's important. So there he is with beak and eye completed. So I didn't want the white area to be quite so white. I was going to go in and try and move a little bit of stuff there. Decided that was a little too dark, so I tried to dab a little bit of it out. But I didn't want it to be quite so stark white. So as you can tell, first it kind of made it a little bit too dark. So I was just getting rid of a little bit of that. Then very gently trying to just spread a little paint around that area, and then just very, very gently going to that white area. Didn't want it to be dark, just not quite so stark white. So, sorry, out of frame there. I was getting a closer look. Trying to see what was dry as well. So now I'm going to do the lettering. That's the Faber-Castell metallics in gold and a white jelly roll. And do the lettering however you like. I enjoy lettering, but definitely, could use a little more practice. But I do enjoy it. And with some of the letters, I just kind of do my own thing and do it how I think it looks best. So for what's in my head anyway. So I'm just going in and it's supposed to be like when you do this kind of thing, they say do it on all the downstrokes. But I kind of decided that I just wanted to do it mostly on the left-hand side, thicken the strokes. And so that's what I did on this, except for the Y's. For some reason, I thought the Y looked a little funny like that, so I did the whole Y. But that's what I was doing there. I was just, like I said, I know that you should thicken the downstrokes. And I just kind of did thicken the parts, the downstrokes that I wanted to. Sorry about the wobbly camera there. My cat was in my lap and kind of around my desk. You can't see her, but she was kind of getting onto things and bumping into things. So I did the same thing on this. I just did it in the gold pin. And then on this I did go through and do all of the downstrokes, thickened all the downstrokes. So this one I guess I did it more properly, you could say. I did it more the right way. I've really gotten to like doing lettering like this. I guess I just feel like I have a little more control over it when I'm doing it this way. I'm sure with practice I would enjoy doing it with a brush, but so far I kind of feel like this way is just better for me. I do definitely like the more flowing lettering the best. I enjoy doing that a lot. And that's just all personal preference, but I'm more comfortable with that. But I didn't like it for all the letters in this. I did some practice before I decided on how to write that out, and just ended up thinking that looked the best of everything that I was trying with my different layouts. Who knows? Another day, I'd probably pick something completely different. So just finishing up my last word here. jelly roll. All I'm doing here, just adding a little line with a couple of dots to all the thick places, just to help them stand out a little bit. So that's it, pretty simple. This one I did it, and I was like, oh, that looks like a flux capacitor from Back to the Future, kind of. So, any other Back to the Future fans out there? And so that's about it. Just do that same thing where you want to. I just go through and add it on all the thick parts. Just make sure that you, I just do this out of caution, let everything sit for a little while, make sure the pen is thoroughly dry before you go in with an eraser and very gently erase those guidelines that you put in for the lettering. So I hope that you enjoyed this. This is the first long tutorial that I've done. And oh, I will have these up in my Redbubble store if anyone doesn't feel like making one and would like to purchase. I'll have the link below. Anyway, I hope that wherever you are in the world that you are staying safe and having a wonderful spring, and I also hope you have a very nice Mother's Day. So thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.